Seedborn Muse. Whether you love it or hate it, you can't deny it's a very powerful card. And well, what if I told you you could play it in the command zone just a little bit more serpentine? Patron of the Orochi is a legendary 8-mana green 7/7 spirit with Snake Offering that can tap to untap all green creatures and forests once per turn. Now, there are a couple of important things to take note of with Patron here, which you may miss off the bat, and are very crucial to the way that Patron works. So first off, the downside, unfortunately. It doesn't specify your forests and green creatures, it just says all, meaning that it can help your opponents as well as you. However, it just saying all does also have a huge upside, since it doesn't exclude itself, meaning that it also untaps with your board, ready to go again on the next turn. Hence the once per turn clause and comparisons to Seedborn Muse. Additionally, because it's just once per turn with no timing restrictions, this can be done on each player's turn for a grand total of basically 5 untap steps per turn cycle. It's absolutely incredible! So long as your opponents aren't on elves. And yeah, just so to be upfront, good old Patron here is actually a pet commander of mine, and I'm basically going to use this episode to gush about how much I love this card. My personal deck is built around accruing as much green mana as I possibly can without going infinite, because infinites are boring, but before I launch into my tirade about that, I will give a mention to the other major theme that Patron commands. Snakes! Turns out that a card made to be a capstone for Kamigawa's Snake People works quite well as a commander for a snake deck. Who'd have thought it? But yeah, over the years, snakes have acquired quite a lot of nice cards, which either tap for mana, like Orochi Mergekeeper, love having lots of mana available, like Stonecoil Serpent, or like playing instant speed, like Ambush Viper, and well, Patron pretty much facilitates all of that in one neat package. Indeed, Patron especially likes living among the snakes, as they all come with the ever-lingering threat of that spicy snake offering that Patron comes with, which, for the cost of sacrificing a single snake, allows Patron to be cast at instant speed and with a discount equal to the Sack Noodle's mana value. And hey, these snake synergies are actually so good with Patron, they also make their way into the big mana build that I'm going to be talking about of this stupid, slithering spirit. Sachi, Steve, Sustainer, Skullwinder, they all make their way into really any build of this thing, because who doesn't want ramp and recursion with added bonuses? Also, special mention goes to Fanatic of Ronus. This thing is a goddamn custom card made for Patron, I swear. A mana dork, which makes more mana when Patron's around, is a snake for the offering, and that can be returned stronger after being offered. I mean, come on, the only way it would be more perfect would be if the Eternalized token were green. But anyway, going back to the big mana build I mentioned earlier, my deck. You obviously play a ton of dorks, hissing or otherwise, to turbo out tons of green mana, but what else? Well, turns out that in a deck like this, turning all your creatures into dorks is also a very viable strat. The likes of Enduring Vitality, Elven Chorus, and via tokens Jaheira slot in perfectly, and are brilliant for massively upping your turnly mana count and maximising Patron's efficiency. That's not enough mana. What about land ramp? Well, Traverse the Outlands is incredible for your 7-power commander, and Harvest Season goes absolutely ham with the sheer number of creatures you're tapping. But that's still not enough mana. What about big mana dorks? Karametra's Acolyte taps for green equal to your green devotion, and Circle of Dreams Druid makes mana equal to the number of creatures you control, which this deck can churn out like nobody's business. That's still not enough. I need more. Fine then. Virtue of Strength, Nissa, Caged Sun, Leyline of Abundance, goddamn Vorinclex. Mana doublers and triplers work so outrageously well in here that you can get away with running a glut of them, especially when untapping 5 times a turn cycle. That's more like it. There's a final cherry on top of this green-ass sundae. Rings of Bright Hearth gets around Patron's restriction, and thus gives you basically an extra 4 untaps. And well, this all started with Seedborn Muse, so she may as well go in too. When I said as much green as possible earlier, I wasn't joking. But now that you have all that mana, what to do with it? Well, you do have a few choices actually. Option A, give everything flash with Yaeva or Vidalcan Orrery, and play through your hand on your opponent's turns. Option B, play a bunch of mana sinks like Jade Mage, Ant Queen, and Tyvar the Pummeler to funnel mana into at instant speed. Option C, play a bunch of X spells like Hurricane and Squallline to win in a big explosion, or Awaken the Woods and Gelatinous Genesis to create an unreasonable amount of tokens. Or option D, just do little bits of the above, that's probably the best one. Oh, and no matter what, play OG Omnath. This isn't optional, this is just the best card in any given Patron deck. And right, so yeah, that's Patron of the Orochi. If you can't tell, I like it just a smidge. It's genuinely a tragically undervalued piece of cardboard, especially for the zone, and I'd love to see a few more people pick it up to play. Just remember to avoid those elves at all costs.